Hi book friends, I'm Erin, and this is Erin Go Read. This is my June TBR today. I have a pretty mixed bag of things going on, but I think that's good. A lot of variety after reading a ton of nonfiction last month. I have a few nonfiction selections, but it's mostly fiction this month, including the first 3 books for the Booktube Prize semifinals. So I'll start with nonfiction. And the first I have is, it's on my Kindle. If you have Amazon Prime, you can get this for free. This is Me and White Supremacy by Layla F. I'm not sure on her last name. Saad? And as I understand, this book is more of a workbook. I recently followed her on Instagram. I saw this book originally on Instagram through my cousin. She is reading and working through this book, and it is a book that you are supposed to actually like journal through. So the author is a Black woman, and she is, the way I understand it, she is teaching white people about their inherent whiteness and the white privilege. And I'm not exactly sure, but I know that you're supposed to like journal and like work through it. So it's kind of an interactive look at yourself and your whiteness and your white privilege. So that should be enlightening, revealing, difficult, probably. I always want to be reading something kind of for work, whether it's specific to business or more specific to health. And this month I'm going with more of a business book. This is Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. And it's just about being able to clarify your message so that you're saying the right things to the right people, I suppose. So you're marketing to the people who you actually want to be marketing to, and that you're able to kind of sell yourself and your product in an effective way via storytelling. I actually have one more, I have 4 nonfiction books. So June is, I believe it's Caribbean Heritage Month or something along those lines. And I have Barracoon by Nora Zeal Hurston. So this book was published posthumously. She was able to interview, I think in the 20s. Yeah, in 1927, she went to Alabama and was able to interview this man, Cujo, who I assume is that man on the cover. And he was enslaved in the Caribbean like 50 years after the slave trade had ended. So it's her firsthand account of her interview with Cujo. And I believe this is really dialect heavy. So including the afterword, it's only 137 pages, but I believe it's quite dialect heavy. As well as, not to mention the topic being heavy. And then a book that is literally heavy. I don't necessarily plan on finishing this month, but I would like to start it. It is These Truths by Jill Lepore. I know Kendra Winchester with the Reading Women read this and really enjoyed it. And I've had it sitting there on my shelf for a little bit. And just after a lot of the nonfiction that I read last month, there were several topics that just like, I want to know more about that. I want to know more. And I thought, well, you know what? I have this. And from what I heard from Kendra, this is supposed to be quite well done and far more inclusive than like the textbooks that we grew up reading. So I want to get into this. So, you know, I don't know if I have any sort of plan yet for this, how I will tackle it. Maybe this will be kind of like a summer thing. So it looks to be around 800 pages or so. So I hope to enjoy this and learn a lot from it. Now we move into fiction. The first 2 books are not for the Booktube Prize. I think it's been 2 or 3 months since I've read any sort of classic, and at the beginning of the year, I made a video about classics that I would like to read this month, and so I'm going to start with a nice small one to get myself back in the swing of things. This is A Room with a View by E.M. Forster, and this is about a woman, she has a great name, Lucy Honeychurch. It takes place in Edwardian England, and Miss Honeychurch goes on vacation or on holiday to Italy, and she meets all these different people in Italy, and she is kind of changed and transformed by the people that she meets and the experiences she has there, and then returns back to Edwardian England and back to kind of the stifled lifestyle that she lives there. Everyone recently who I've heard that has read E.M. Forster has really loved everything, so this is where I'm going to start. Then we have The Girl with the Loudoun Voice. I think this was February Book of the Month Club choice, and I haven't got to it yet, by Abidare. I meant to look that up before I started filming and I forgot to. So our main character, what was her name? Aduni, is 14. She's Nigerian, and she, without like looking back at the blurb again, her life kind of begins a series of transactions where she is the currency. And so she's like sold into marriage, and then she's sold into like servitude. So she's kind of traded as some sort of commodity, but she's not going to take it quietly. And she finds her voice, uses her voice, and speaks up. And story. Then we have the books for the semifinals of the Booktube Prize. I am doing fiction this year. I have Group A, and the books on my June TBR are the books that I actually already own. The other 3 books I've placed holds on at the library, either for audiobook, the physical book, or the ebook. So we'll see how that ends up shaking out. So the first book there is Lanny by Max Porter. I had already read this book. It actually might be the UK edition, but I'm not sure. I don't know, it is Grey Wolf Press. That's a local publisher, so maybe not. But anyhow, really fantastic experience of a book, and I've heard that the audiobook is really good. So what I might do is listen to the audiobook while reading the book at the same time, if I can get a hold of the audiobook without paying for it. I haven't looked into that yet. So, but I'm excited to reread this. Then we have Women Talking by Miriam Toews, and I had heard a lot about this book from the Reading Women. Really loved this book and spoke a lot about it. Russel at Ink and Paper, Russel at Ink and Play, I can't talk. I know Russel at Ink and Paper blog really loved it as well. I don't remember a whole lot of it about this. I'm not going to read the blurb. What I believe it's about from my memory is a Mennonite society and women who have been very mistreated by the men in their community. And I think they take some sort of action and fight back. And I believe the cover, as it's these like hooded women in their faces, but I believe this is also meant to be like knife handles, and they're the blades. So we have Jacqueline Woodson, Red at the Bone. I don't know anything about this one. I know people have said really good things about it. I read one other Jacqueline Woodson, and I'm blanking on the name of it. It was a middle grade book, and it was really good. Really looking forward to reading more Jacqueline Woodson and seeing what all the hype is about this book. Oh yeah, I just started listening to Blue Monday by Nicci French on audiobook. It's like a crime detective novel series. It's the first in a series. Jen Campbell's been talking a lot about it. I think she's listened to it on audiobook like 2 times around now, the whole series. So I've just started that, and I'm really not into the story quite yet, other than to know that 2 sisters were out playing, and one of the girls ends up missing. So that's the start of that one. So these are the books that I plan to read in the month of June, with the exception of these truths. See, they're all relatively small books, especially these top ones here. So I don't think this should be a problem, and these truths I plan to be able to stretch out over the whole summer anyway. So I'm really looking forward to this reading month. Thank you for watching. See you around the tubes.